everyone, and welcome to another review. This time I will be talking about the e.l.f. Studio blushes, and these are obviously the single ones that have been out for quite some time. There are 11 shades available and I have 6 of them to show you today. The shades that I have are Peachy Keen, Tickled Pink, Candid Coral, and then Berry Mary, Blushing Rose, and Pink Passion. Packaging wise, these compacts are pretty sleek and small. You do get a small mirror with each one, which can be useful on the go. But the feature that I probably most like about these compacts is the small window at the top that allows you to see the shade without opening the packaging. I think that speeds up things when you're applying your makeup, particularly if you have a few of these. And what you're getting with these for $3 a piece is 0.168 ounces of product, or 4.75 grams. And that is actually more than you get with these e.l.f. blush palettes, which only contain 0.14 ounces of product, or 4 grams, for $6. But it is still less product than you get with one of these essential blushes, which contain 0.21 ounces or 6 grams of product for just $2. So let's get right into the swatches. The first color is called Peachy Keen, and this is a very light peachy shade, as the name implies. This is one of those shades that does not really show up very much on my skin. Despite the fact that I'm very fair, I do find that I have to build this one up. Once you do build Peachy Keen up, this is a nice neutral shade of peach. And this is the perfect blush for everyday or for professional settings. But as I said, you really do have to build it up, because I find that the pigmentation on this one is the most disappointing of them all. Now, Peachy Keen comes off on the skin as a matte blush, but if you actually look very closely at the pan and if you look at it in direct sunlight, you will notice that it has a small quantity of very finely milled shimmer. It's not glitter, but it's just a very, very finely milled shimmer. And I think that gives your cheeks a healthy look. It does not make you shiny, but the presence of that shimmer prevents that chalky look from forming on your cheeks. So I do think that just a very slight quantity of shimmer can be very flattering for your cheeks. However, given the pigmentation of this, I honestly do not find myself reaching too often for this. And this is definitely, for me at least, and I may have just gotten a dud, this is one that I do not want to use a light hand with. It is also slightly powdery. Next up we have Tickled Pink. And again, this is a shade that you would want to build up. I guess there's also an advantage in that if you're a beginner and you're afraid of using bright shades of blush because you don't want to look like a clown, these are good shades to start out with. As you can see, this is a light shade of pink. This is also very good for everyday use or for professional settings. Comparing Tickled Pink with the one that I previously showed, the Peachy Keen, you can see that Tickled Pink definitely has a lot more pink, but both of these shades are very nice neutral shades that would probably complement any kind of complexion. Obviously, if you're more tan than a medium skin tone, these may actually not show up on your skin, or you may have to work quite a bit to get them to show up. Tickled Pink over here is another shade that appears matte on the skin, but looking at it in the pan in direct sunlight, you will again see a slight quantity of shimmer that is very, very finely milled, and it's just enough to give your cheeks that healthy glow without making this a luminous blush. It does look almost matte on your cheeks. Both of these, Tickled Pink and Peachy Keen, do. So Candid Coral over here and here in the pan has better pigmentation than both Peachy Keen and Tickled Pink. And compared to Tickled Pink, you can see that it definitely has more coral to it. It also has a bit more shimmer, but it's definitely not one of those glittery blushes. It's just a more luminous finish. Out of these three, I would probably say that Candid Coral over here is my favorite. But I do have to acknowledge the fact that these first two are very controllable and very easy to use for professional settings. I don't have to worry about making sure to blend out the blush because otherwise I may look over the top. So if I'm in a hurry and I'm going for a professional look, I would probably reach for one of these two. But definitely all the shades are pretty once you get them to show up. Now we're getting into the darker and more intense shades. And the first one over here, Berry Mary, is the first one that has quite visible shimmer. Actually, both of these do. And both of these are berry shades, as you can see. The difference is that Berry Mary leans more to the berry side, and the shimmer in it is more multicolored, whereas Blushing Rose, as the name implies, leans more towards the rose side of things, and the shimmer in it is predominantly golden. So let's go on to swatching Berry Mary first. And you can see that the pigmentation of these darker shades is really excellent. Just one swipe and you get full color payoff. This also means that when you apply this on your cheeks, you have to be very careful to blend this out. Because otherwise, if you are pale, these could look a bit too intense on your skin. Also, the texture when you touch them is very nice and buttery soft. And I do not notice any problems with powderiness with these more intense shades. I really like the color. I think it's super pretty, and just a tiny bit of that shimmer does come through. So whereas with the lighter shades you couldn't see the shimmer, you do see just a little tiny bit of the shimmer with these darker ones on your cheeks. This next shade, like the previous one, is also a great shade for the fall and winter. This is Blushing Rose. Again, the pigmentation is really good with just one swipe. I did not apply a lot of pressure. You can see that you can really build them up, and these would be shades that would definitely show up on deeper complexions. And you can see in the swatch, maybe better than in the pen, that this does lean quite a bit more to the rose side of things, whereas the previous Berry Mary is more mauve toned. But both of these are really pretty. Finally, the last color that I own of these is Pink Passion, which looks intimidatingly bright in the pan. But when you swatch this is actually not so bad. It does have very good pigmentation, as you can see with one swatch here. This is one of those shades that comes off matte on the cheeks. And this is so pretty. It really does give the cheeks that dull face look. I really love wearing this shade, particularly in the spring and summer, mostly summer to be honest, but it's so pretty on the cheek. You really do have to try this one. And probably I would say out of all the shades that I own, this one is my favorite. And by the way, I used to own the mauve shade, but I gave it away to my mom because it was a bit too dark for me for every day, but definitely a very good neutral shade for the fall and winter. Just in case you may wonder how these e.l.f. Studio single blushes compare to other powder blushes from e.l.f., I thought that I would swatch next to these other powder blushes from e.l.f. And here I have the e.l.f. Essential Blush in Flushed. So you can see that the pigmentation of the one in Flushed is very close to, I would say, Pink Passion, and also quite close to some of these darker shades. So really very nice pigmentation. And finally, a comparison with one of their newer star products, and I'm talking here about the already very famous e.l.f. Studio Blush Palettes that are renowned for their superb pigmentation. So let's take one of the lightest colors. You can see that even the lightest color in the blush palette is way more pigmented than the light colors in the e.l.f. Studio Singles. I am honestly not surprised because these blush palettes are really exceptionally pigmented. And let's try some of the darker shades. Yes, the pigmentation of these palettes is definitely superior to what you get in the singles. You can see that over here. These blush palettes are really supremely pigmented. But the nice thing is that there are actually no overlapping shades. So these are all the shades of the dark palette, and as you can see, they actually do not overlap with the shades that they had in their e.l.f. Studio singles. And although this shade does look a little bit like Blushing Rose, it is not exactly the same. The color is slightly off, and also the finish. So I do like the fact that e.l.f. put out new shades with these blush palettes. In terms of general thoughts about these, if I had to give them a grade, I would probably give them an 8.5 out of a 10. To be completely honest, I would probably give these two lightest shades an 8 out of a 10, and the rest probably more like a 9 out of a 10, because these two lightest ones are not quite as pigmented, and they may not work as well on darker skin tones as some of the darker ones do. But overall, I do think that this is a really solid product. I do think that the shade selection is really pretty. I have worn all of these on my cheeks, and I do think that they give a very nice look. I think they're nice and affordable, they're easy to apply, and they do last for a good length of time on my cheeks. With some of the lighter ones, I sometimes do find myself needing to reapply them towards the end of the day, but I definitely do not have this problem with some of the darker fall and winter shades over here, and also not with Pink Passion. And as I mentioned, I am really in love with this shade for the summer. Simply gorgeous, and it gives you that healthy glow to your cheeks and really does give you that doll face look. It is really very flattering. So I would say if your skin is fair to medium and you only want to try one shade out of this whole range, I would go for Pink Passion. If you're slightly darker, I would probably choose one of these two, Berry Mary or Blushing Rose. Simply gorgeous, both of them. Overall, I do think that these products are definitely worth a try, and I think they're great additions to my makeup collection. I really do enjoy using them, and I hope that this review was helpful for you. Thank you so very much for taking the time to watch, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!